The glass walls of the skyscraper glittered against the night sky, but inside the boardroom, chaos reigned. "Call the ambulance, now," someone shouted. A body lay sprawled across the polished marble floor. Alexander Kane, the ruthless, untouchable CEO whose decisions had built empires and destroyed rivals, was gasping for air. His once commanding voice had turned into shallow, ragged breaths. His face, usually unreadable, was pale, almost gray. Board members and assistants circled helplessly, their expensive watches flashing under the sterile light. Phones were in hands, but no one moved closer. "He's not breathing properly. Where's the medic team? God, if he dies here." Panic. Whispers. No one touched him. It was as if Alexander Kane, the man they all feared, was too powerful to approach, even while dying. But time was running out. His eyes, sharp steel only hours ago, glazed over. His chest stuttered, faltered. His body convulsed once, then went frighteningly still. "Pulse is gone," a secretary cried. He's. "Don't say it," barked another. Silence. The weight of death was suddenly heavy in the room. And then, the doors burst open. A young woman stumbled inside, clutching a threadbare backpack. Her clothes were ragged, dirt clinging to her sleeves, and her shoes were worn through. Her hair was tangled, framing a face far too young for the shadows under her eyes. A homeless girl. Security immediately moved forward. "You can't be in here." But she saw him. The man on the floor. The one whose name was everywhere on billboards, magazines, news feeds. The man everyone said was untouchable. Now touchable only by death. Her voice trembled but carried. "Move. If you don't, he's gone forever." The room froze. For a split second, no one reacted. A homeless girl giving orders to billionaires? Ridiculous. But something in her eyes, desperation, certainty, made them pause. She dropped to her knees beside Alexander's body, trembling as she pressed her ear against his chest. Nothing. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady.
"He needs blood.
Now." "Blood? Are you insane?" "We called paramedics." "They'll be too late," she snapped, her voice breaking with urgency. "He has a rare type. He won't survive unless—" Her hand dug into her backpack, pulling out a crumpled hospital card. She shoved it at the nearest person. "AB negative. Same as me." The board members stared at her as though she were mad. A girl from the streets, offering her blood to save the richest man in the city. "You expect us to." "I don't expect you to do anything," she cut in, tears blurring her vision. "But I won't let him die while you stand here doing nothing." Her voice cracked, raw and pleading. "I know what it feels like to be left on the street, praying someone would save you. Nobody came for me, but I won't let that happen to him." The room shifted. Some averted their eyes. Others whispered, uneasy. Finally, one of the doctors, arrived at last, dropped his bag beside her. His tone was sharp, skeptical. "You're willing to give your blood right here, right now? No tests, no delay." "Yes," she breathed. Her gaze fell on the unconscious man. His lips were turning blue. His body, once larger than life, now looked fragile. "Mortal." Her voice steadied. "Take it all if you have to." The doctor hesitated, then nodded. "Prepare her arm. We don't have time." Hands moved quickly, equipment unpacked, a line drawn from her vein to his. She winced at the sting, but her eyes never left his face. Minutes crawled by. Her body weakened, her skin paling, but slowly, so slowly, color returned to his. A faint gasp tore through Alexander's chest. His fingers twitched. His lips parted, dragging in air like a drowning man breaking the surface. Gasps erupted around the room. "He's breathing. Impossible." The girl sagged, nearly collapsing. But she clung to consciousness, whispering hoarsely, "Come back. You don't get to leave, not yet." For a moment, his eyes fluttered open. Glazed, unfocused, but they found her. Not the doctors, not the board members. Her. A single heartbeat of connection. Then his eyes rolled back, and he slipped into unconsciousness again. The doctor barked, "He's stabilized for now. Get him to the hospital, immediately." As the medical team surged in, lifting Alexander onto a stretcher, the board members turned back to the girl.
Who was she? Why did she know his blood type?
Why would a homeless girl risk her life for the most powerful man in the city? She was swaying, barely standing, bloodied sleeve rolled up, her eyes glassy from weakness. But before she collapsed, her whisper echoed in the stunned silence. "You all failed him, but I won't." And then darkness swallowed her. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and fear. Nurses hurried past, their shoes squeaking against the polished floors. Machines beeped in staccato rhythms, each note pulling at nerves already stretched thin. Maya sat slumped in a chair outside the emergency suite, her arms still bandaged from the transfusion. Her head swam from weakness, but her mind was racing too fast to rest. Every time her eyes closed, she saw his face, the stranger she'd kept alive with her own blood. Alexander Kane. The name alone carried weight, a fortress of power she had no right to enter. Yet now his life was tied to hers. What have I done? The doors burst open, and a man in a tailored suit stormed in. His presence carried authority, but his eyes burned with panic. Status. He snapped at the nearest nurse. Stabilized, but critical. He wouldn't have made it without. The nurse hesitated, glancing toward Maya. The man followed her gaze. His eyes narrowed as they landed on the girl with tangled hair and threadbare clothes, a stark contrast to the sterile luxury of the ward. "You." His voice dripped disbelief. "You're telling me she is the reason Alexander Kane is still alive?" Maya straightened, summoning defiance despite her exhaustion. "I gave him my blood. He'd be dead otherwise." For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then he laughed bitterly. "A homeless girl saves the most powerful CEO in the city. Do you even realize what kind of game you're playing?" Her hands clenched into fists. "I didn't do it for a game. I did it because everyone else stood there and watched him die." Her voice trembled, then hardened. "I won't apologize for saving a life." The man stepped closer, his shadow falling over her. "You expect gratitude? A reward? Money?" "No," she shot back, eyes flashing. "I expect nothing. Unlike the rest of you." The sting in her words silenced him. For the first time, his composure cracked. The sound of movement drew their attention, nurses rushing as the doors behind them opened again. The medical team wheeled Alexander out, still unconscious, tubes and monitors surrounding him. His face was pale but alive. Maya's breath caught. She couldn't look away. She remembered his cold, lifeless skin under her hands, the way his chest had stilled. Now, even with machines doing half the work, there was life flickering in him again. Her heart whispered. I pulled him back. The suited man noticed her gaze, suspicion darkening his eyes. "Stay away from him. You don't belong in his world." But Maya's reply was soft, almost broken. "Maybe. But when he was dying, I was the only one who belonged." Hours later, Maya found herself outside his private room. She shouldn't have been there. Security glared, nurses whispered, but something compelled her.
Through the glass, she saw him.
The man whose face graced every magazine cover, whose fortune built skyscrapers and destroyed rivals. Now he lay powerless, pale against white sheets, each breath a fragile reminder of mortality. Her chest tightened. "Why you?" she whispered against the glass. "Why did it have to be you?" As if in answer, his fingers twitched. Maya froze. His eyelids fluttered, heavy, sluggish. Then his eyes opened. Not fully. Not sharply. But enough to find her. Her breath caught, her pulse racing. For a second, the room, the world, time itself stilled. His gaze locked on hers. Confused, hazy, but not empty. Then his lips parted. A faint rasp escaped. "Who are you?" Maya's throat tightened. She pressed a hand to the glass, trembling.
"No one."
"Just someone who didn't let you go." A flicker of something, pain, recognition, maybe gratitude, passed through his eyes. Then his lids fell shut again, the machines continuing their steady rhythm. Tears blurred her vision, but a strange warmth spread in her chest. He had seen her, remembered her, even if only for a heartbeat. Behind her, footsteps echoed. The suited man again. His tone was cold, final. This is the last time you'll see him. Tomorrow, he'll wake to a world where you don't exist. Understand? Maya wiped her tears, straightening with quiet defiance. We'll see. Her whisper carried more weight than a scream. Because deep down, she knew something no one else did. When Alexander Kane had been closest to death, it wasn't his empire, his money, or his power that had held him back. It was her. And whether they liked it or not, their fates were now bound by blood. The rain hammered against the hospital windows, streaking the city lights into a blur. Inside, the room was dim, quiet except for the rhythmic hiss of oxygen and the steady beep of a heart monitor. Alexander Kane stirred. The man who once commanded boardrooms with his voice now struggled to lift his head from the pillow. His body felt like lead, but his mind was sharper with every passing second. He had tasted death and come back. And the first image burned into his memory wasn't the doctor's. It wasn't his board. It was her. The girl with fire in her eyes. Mr. Kane, you shouldn't be sitting up. A nurse hurried forward, adjusting the tubes. His voice came out rough, low, but edged with authority. The girl. Where is she? The nurse blinked. Girl? The one who gave me her blood. His eyes narrowed, piercing even through weakness. Find her. The nurse faltered. Sir, with all respect, she's not supposed to be here. Security already. His glare silenced her. Even half-conscious, Alexander Kane was a storm contained in human form.
Bring
her. Maya sat on a bench in the hospital garden, shivering under the drizzle. She hugged her knees to her chest, watching raindrops slide down the leaves. The bandage on her arm throbbed, a reminder of what she'd done. She told herself she had no right to linger. He belonged to a world so far above hers it might as well be another planet. Still, she couldn't leave. Something tethered her here. Maya. The voice jolted her. She turned and froze. Two men in black suits stood before her, expressionless. The CEO wants to see you. Now. Her heart slammed against her ribs. When Maya entered his room, Alexander was awake, propped up against the pillows. His presence filled the space despite his weakness, his sharp eyes tracking her every movement. The silence was suffocating. Finally, his voice low, commanding, but roughened by strain. You. Her throat tightened. Me. He studied her, gaze sweeping over her torn jacket, mud-stained jeans, and trembling hands. Every inch of her screamed out of place in this gleaming hospital suite. You saved my life. His words weren't a question. Maya swallowed. Someone had to. His jaw tightened. Do you know who I am? She met his gaze without flinching.
Yes.
Alexander Kane. The man everyone was too afraid to touch while you were dying. For the first time, his mask slipped. A flicker of something, anger, maybe shame, passed through his eyes. You had nothing to gain, he pressed, voice sharp. No money. No recognition. Why? Her answer came without hesitation. Because you were human. Because I know what it's like when no one helps. Her voice cracked, raw. And I couldn't let you go through that. The room went still. His eyes darkened, unreadable. For a man who built walls out of steel and glass, her words hit like a crack splitting through them. He leaned forward slightly, grimacing at the effort. You risked your life for me. Don't think that makes you untouchable. Her brows furrowed. Untouchable. You've stepped into my world, he said, voice low, dangerous. A world that will devour you if you're not careful. Instead of recoiling, Maya straightened her spine. Then let it try. The air between them snapped like electricity. His lips twitched, not quite a smile, but not far. For the first time in years, Alexander Kane felt something other than control. He felt intrigue. The door burst open. The suited man from before, Damien, his right-hand executive, strode in. His eyes flicked between them, hardening. "She doesn't belong here," Damien said coldly. "I'll have her removed." "No," Alexander's voice cut through the air like a blade. Damien froze. "Sir."
She stays. For now.
Maya's breath hitched. His eyes locked on hers, unreadable yet intense. The unspoken words lingered in the air. "You're not leaving me just yet." That night, long after visiting hours ended, Maya sat by his bed. He dozed fitfully, his brow furrowed even in sleep. She should have left, but something rooted her there. She watched the rise and fall of his chest, whispering softly, "Why does it feel like you're already inside my life, when you shouldn't be?" To her shock, his hand twitched, then moved. His fingers brushed hers, hesitant, searching. Her heart lurched. His eyes half opened, voice barely audible. "Don't leave." Her breath caught, eyes burning. She curled her fingers around his, whispering back, "I won't." And in the silence of the night, with rain still streaking the windows, two lives from opposite worlds tangled a little tighter, bound not just by blood, but by something far more dangerous. Something neither of them was ready to name. The rain had stopped by morning, but the storm hadn't. Alexander Kane sat propped against the hospital bed, his body frail, but his mind razor-sharp. The board had sent flowers, partners had sent messages, the media buzzed like vultures circling a carcass. But none of it mattered. Only one question burned inside him.
Who is she?
The girl who had given him blood. The girl who defied everyone in that boardroom. The girl whose hand he had held in the dark. Maya. She sat quietly by the window now, her small frame wrapped in a borrowed sweater, eyes fixed on the gray skyline. She hadn't noticed he was watching. Or maybe she had and didn't care. Finally, his voice cut the silence. "Why were you even there that night?" Her head turned slowly. "There? In my boardroom." His tone was sharp, probing. "Homeless girls don't just stroll into the 28th floor of Kane International." Her lips parted, then pressed into a line. He leaned forward, ignoring the protest of his body. "Tell me the truth, Maya." Her fingers tightened on the sweater. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, soft, almost broken, "I used to work there." The words struck harder than any blow. Alexander froze. "What?" She lifted her chin, eyes glistening but defiant. "Not as an executive. Not even close. I cleaned your offices. I scrubbed your floors. Invisible, forgotten. Until one day, they decided even that wasn't enough. I was accused of stealing. Thrown out. Blacklisted. No one would hire me again." Her voice cracked, trembling with fury and humiliation. "I lost everything.
My job.
My home. My family stopped answering my calls. One accusation destroyed me." His chest tightened. He had no memory of her. But then again, he'd never looked at the janitors, the cleaners, the invisible people who made his empire shine. Her eyes blazed now, cutting into him. "And yet, when you were dying, I was the one who saved you. Isn't that ironic?" Silence crashed between them, heavy and suffocating. Alexander's mind reeled. Could it be true? His company, the empire he'd built on ruthless efficiency, had crushed her? And now, fate had bound them by blood? Before he could speak, the door burst open. Damien strode in, a folder in hand. His expression darkened when he saw Maya. "Still here." "She stays," Alexander said coldly. Damien ignored him, dropping the folder onto the bed. "We ran a background check, as you ordered." His eyes flicked to Maya, hard and disdainful. "Everything she just said? True." Alexander's pulse thundered. He opened the folder, flipping through reports, termination papers, blacklisting notices. Each page painted a picture of betrayal, injustice. And at the center of it, his company. His people. His empire had destroyed her life. He looked up at Maya, but she was already on her feet, tears streaking her face. "You see? I didn't lie." Her voice shook with fury and hurt. "You asked who I am. That's who I am. The woman your world crushed. The woman you would have never looked at twice if not for a tube of blood keeping you alive. She turned toward the door, fists clenched. Maya, his voice broke, harsher than intended. Don't walk away. She froze, her back trembling, but she didn't turn. You think saving you changes anything? She whispered. You'll wake up tomorrow and go back to your empire. And I'll go back to being invisible. Her words sliced through him, sharp and merciless. He wanted to argue,
to deny.
But for the first time in years, Alexander Kane had no answer. Because she was right. The only sound was the faint beeping of the monitor, marking each beat of his fragile, conflicted heart. And when the door slammed shut behind her, he felt the strangest thing of all. Not relief, not control, but loss. The storm had broken outside, hammering against the tall glass windows of the hospital's private suite. Inside, silence stretched tight like a wire ready to snap. Elena sat rigid in the corner, her fingers curled against her knees, watching as Adrian Stone, the CEO she had unknowingly saved with her own blood, battled his way back to consciousness. His breaths were uneven, but his eyes, sharp even in weakness, locked on her. You, his voice was low, gravel scraping against silence. Why would you? Elena swallowed, her throat raw from hours of watching over him. Why did I? The answer burned in her chest, but words refused to come. She had nothing, not even a home, yet she had given something no one else could, her blood. And it had tethered them together in ways she hadn't imagined. Because no one else could, she finally whispered. Because I couldn't just let you die. Adrian's eyes flickered with something unreadable, anger, confusion, gratitude all tangled into one. He tried to sit up, but his body betrayed him, and he slumped back, grimacing. The doctor rushed forward. Mr. Stone, please. Your condition. But Adrian silenced him with a glare. Then, slowly, his gaze returned to Elena. You're not like the others, he muttered, his voice distant, almost like he wasn't speaking to her but to himself. They watched me fade away and you, his jaw clenched. Who are you really? Elena's chest tightened. She had been nothing all her life, a shadow no one looked twice at, a name no one remembered. No one, she said softly. I'm just no one. But that only seemed to ignite something sharper in Adrian.
No.
You're not. His tone was steel. You gave me back my life. That doesn't make you no one. That makes you the only one. Her breath caught. The room felt too small, the storm outside a mirror of the one brewing between them. Before Elena could answer, the door slammed open. A tall man in a suit strode in, Victor Lang, Adrian's longtime business partner and childhood friend. But the way his eyes darted to Elena, narrowing, made her pulse quicken. What is she doing here? Victor's tone dripped with disdain. Adrian, you don't even know who she is. She could be a con artist, She saved me. Adrian's voice cut sharp, lethal. Victor blinked, but quickly recovered. And that's exactly the problem. Don't you see? A homeless stranger shows up out of nowhere, just when your life hangs in the balance. It's too convenient. His gaze snapped to Elena, cold and unyielding. What do you really want? Elena's face burned with humiliation. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but Adrian's hand lifted weakly from the sheets, silencing the room. I don't care what she was before, Adrian said, each word deliberate. What matters is what she did. She gave what none of you could. His stare locked onto Victor, fire beneath his weakness. And don't you ever question that in front of me again. The air bristled with tension. Victor's jaw tightened, but he forced a smile, too polished, too smooth. Of course. I'm only thinking of the company and of you. He glanced once more at Elena, eyes promising a reckoning, before retreating out the door. The moment he was gone, Elena exhaled shakily, her pulse racing. Why did you protect me like that? She asked quietly. Adrian turned his head toward her, his expression unreadable. Because, his voice faltered, then steadied, low and raw. Because I owe you more than I can ever repay. And because, he broke off, shaking his head as if the words were too dangerous to finish. Silence thickened between them again, but this time it was electric. Elena stood, clutching her worn jacket tighter. I should go. You can't. His words snapped like a command, though his body lay fragile against the bed. His gaze, however, was unyielding. Not yet. Stay. Her heart stumbled. Stay? The word felt heavier than it should have, filled with something unspoken. Outside, thunder cracked. Inside, Elena froze in the storm of his stare, torn between flight and the pull she couldn't explain. And then, just as she reached for the door, Adrian's monitor spiked, alarms blaring. Nurses rushed in, chaos exploding around them. But amid the storm, Adrian's hand shot out, grasping hers with surprising strength. His eyes locked onto hers, burning with something raw and desperate. Don't leave me. Her world tilted. And for the first time in her life, Elena realized she wasn't invisible anymore. The city skyline glittered outside the penthouse windows, but inside the CEO's private study, the air was suffocating. Thick silence pressed down, broken only by the sharp crack of a crystal glass shattering against the marble floor. Adrian Veron, once a titan of power, now a man reborn by borrowed blood, stood trembling with rage and something far more dangerous: fear. His dark eyes were locked on the frail figure standing near the door, clutching her threadbare coat as if it were armor. Alara, the girl who had given him life, the girl he couldn't stop thinking about, and the girl who was about to walk away. You think you can just leave? Adrian's voice was gravel, hoarse, almost broken. After everything, you saved me, Alara. You own me. Her hands shook, but her chin didn't waver. I never wanted to own you, Adrian. I only wanted you to live. His chest tightened. God, her words cut deeper than any betrayal. He had stared death in the face, and it was her blood, her courage, that pulled him back. But what terrified him now was not dying. It was losing her. You're running because you're scared, he said, stepping closer, his voice dropping to something raw. But don't lie to me. Don't lie to yourself. You feel it too. Alara's throat worked as she swallowed, her eyes glistening. She hated that he was right. The connection between them was undeniable, but it was dangerous. What future could a homeless girl possibly have with a man like him? Adrian, your world will eat me alive, she whispered. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, he snapped, slamming his fist on the desk. Papers scattered, a storm of white against black marble. I was dead. No doctor, no machine, no fortune could save me. Only you. Do you have any idea what that means? The truth bled through his anger. It wasn't about gratitude. It was obsession. It was need. It was something primal that made his voice falter. It means I can't let you go. The silence that followed was unbearable. Alara's heart thundered, her resolve crumbling with every second. But then, the door burst open. Marcus, Adrian's cold-eyed second-in-command, strode in, face pale with urgency. Sir, we have a problem. Someone leaked details of your collapse and about her. Alara's blood ran cold. What? Adrian growled, his voice like steel snapping. Marcus hesitated, then looked at Alara. They know, sir, that your life was saved by a homeless donor. They're calling her a con artist, a gold digger who staged it all. Alara's lips parted in shock. Her chest tightened with humiliation, fury, and dread. Adrian's face turned murderous. Who? We don't know yet, Marcus said, lowering his gaze. But it's spreading fast. Investors are panicking. The board is demanding answers. Alara felt the weight of invisible chains tightening around her. She had never wanted attention, never wanted to be dragged into the spotlight. Now the whole city would see her not as a savior, but as a fraud. Adrian turned to her, his expression softening for the briefest second. Don't listen to them. I'll bury anyone who dares touch your name. But Alara stepped back, shaking her head. This is exactly why I can't stay, Adrian. Your world will destroy me. His jaw clenched. Then I'll destroy my world before I let it destroy you. The sheer force in his words stole her breath. But before she could reply, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then looked up sharply. "Sir," he said, voice low and urgent. "It's worse. There's a photo of Alara entering your private hospital room the night you flatlined." Adrian's blood ran cold. Alara staggered back, horror filling her eyes. Someone was watching. Someone had been watching all along. The room spun with tension. Adrian's fury, Alara's fear, Marcus's urgency. Outside, the city glittered, oblivious to the storm about to break. Adrian stepped forward, his voice a vow that shook the air. "Whoever is doing this, they think they can take you from me. They're wrong." Alara's lips trembled as she whispered, "Adrian, what if they already have?" And in that moment, her words felt like the sharp edge of a blade. The chapter closed with silence, but it wasn't peace. It was the silence before war.